Well, thanks so much for still staying with us. Remember that the phone lines are open. You can participate by calling us on the number that is reflecting on your screen, or alternatively, you can use our social media platform. We are streaming this program live on our Facebook page at Diamond TV Online. You can drop your comments in the comment section. Now, women's representation in Zambia's parliament remains low, with only 15% of seats held by women, despite policies promoting gender equality. While some progress has been made, many barriers such as cultural norms, financial challenges, and lack of party support still stand in the way. Now, as the country heads to the 2026 general elections, the question remains, will we see an improvement in the number of women contesting and winning the seats? To discuss this topic, we're privileged this evening to be joined in by Charlotte Naes. She's Zambian based in the Norway, but she's in the country to discuss these and many other issues that pertain to national importance. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for making time to be a part and accepting our invitation to come to Diamond TV.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Good evening, and good evening, Chimaka. Good evening, viewers.
Well, let's start off with understanding from your perspective what key obstacles continue to hinder women's effective participation in elections.
Thank you. You just highlighted finance, social norms, violence. So those are some obstacles. You know, women, we are not by birth or by, behavior. We are not known to be machos where we fight. We let the men lead, right? Or at least they clear the way. We feel protected when our men are there. But then at the same time, we also want to feel that we're safe. Political landscape, has it been very conducive for us? To some extent, but then we still face, when it comes to culture norms, women are looked upon, if you have to step in the leadership role, either you're competing, either you're running away from your responsibility, because traditionally we must be at home. So some of those, we have seen very strong women in corporate world. It requires that you've got family ties that really understand and accept you for that role if you have to take up. So there's a lot of need for support. So our communities, how much have they given us the opportunity and believed in us above all?
Well, one would argue that if you brought up those arguments, perhaps 20 years ago, then they would stand. But now where, there's been an enhancement in, women's rights, there are a number of women organizations that have been pushing women to, to go and participate in some of these areas that are considered to be male-dominated. Do you still believe that even 20 years on, these are the justifications that you women must give for your lack of, participation, in national affairs such as elections?
We must give we must give ourselves credit. Women have stepped up. When we look at politics, political parties, how much space do they allow women? How much support are they given? When we look at the framework, policies in their structure as political parties, do we see a close? There have been some arguments to say, why are we talking about gender when it comes to leadership roles, right? We're a democracy. Democracy reflects very well when we can see it in its leadership, the leadership that it serves its people. So when you look at Zambia's population, it's about 61% represented by women. But is that resonating with what we see in the political leadership? How much do we see political parties allowing this? So if political parties do not open up, it's not like the women are not coming forth.
Why don't women form their own political parties and begin to make rules for themselves then?
We need to work. So this is not a competition, but we need to work like we have supported our men. And it's just about time. You see, there's been a lot of causes that are directly linked to women. It feels so good when we see our men, let's say they are marching with us, when women are crying, when women are vulnerable, and we see our men come through. They support us. Look at those women that stand out, and their men are there cheering them on. It feels very, very good.
You say it's not a competition, but in certain aspects
Right.
it is, especially, for example, within political parties, because they go through processes. They have the internal democracy where they have to adopt a candidate, and political parties will argue that they want to adopt the person they feel is the most popular within that particular constituency, ward, or whether it's a town or city they're contesting in.
Right.
So it does become a competition, and they will compete with men. And if it so happens that the men are more popular, or the men are the ones who come forth in higher numbers, by the laws of probability, it means that the likelihood of a man making it through becomes much higher as well. So don't you think from that particular basis is where also the problem comes in for women and them being put in these positions?
You will agree with me that, leadership, we become good and better when we are practicing it. When we look at our political parties today, or even previously, how many political parties do we see that are lifting women in those leadership roles where we see that they are molding them to become good, they feel confident? We don't become, there are people who argue that we're born leaders, but you see, we get to uncover ourselves, to discover ourselves when somebody's holding us up. So we just don't expect somebody coming from behind and to come and take up that leadership role and to expect them to be very popular. So I think it's about time that political parties themselves within the executive structures that they get to start realizing we need to start pushing them. I will not be popular if you just leave me behind Ndesha Nafe. The job that you want me to be known for is in Nevo Ndesha.
But the issue of the popularity
Right.
is that leading up to an election it's up to the aspiring candidate. So whether it's even the men who have to do their groundwork, they have to do everything they can to make themselves popular.
Right.
If it means interacting with the constituents there, the voters, they have to do their part to make themselves popular, so that by the time the political party is choosing a candidate, they assess from the people who did their work and are popular. So when you talk about them getting a push, isn't that now further further raising the argument of women wanting things to come on a silver platter when it comes to this conversation here?
Not. No.
Because everybody has to push in their own right.
Absolutely not. I don't think we are arguing to say we are waiting for an opportunity to occur. We're just saying we have seen it, but if we're going to leave it, give us an opportunity. Because as long as we've come in, we've stepped in the political battlefield, then we are saying, I'm ready for leadership. I mean, let's take, for instance, in churches. There's no question there. We see women, stronger women in churches. But in leadership, when it comes to political party governance, there we have seen a problem. Why are women not seen upon to say they can do better? Why are we not being, molded to be better leaders where we are strong? And supporters, we have just highlighted financial burdens, violence, stigma, discrimination. How much of a political parties do we see that have written some clauses that support women? Because we already know men too, they suffer that, but most importantly, the women are finding it very tough. Not too long ago, we read the Member of Parliament for Chiengi, sitting Member of Parliament. She wrote an article, right? We must take something out of what she wrote. I don't think she was just giving up. That what she wrote was quite sad. She's available. I mean, her performance is something else, but then she highlighted something that was very, very important that we must take with us. Did this ECZ look at it? Did the NGOCC look at it? What is the civil society in general? How are they addressing this? But then more importantly, for political parties, when we hear somebody voice out like herself, that is something that we must listen. I mean, maybe there's something that is happening here. So I don't agree that women are waiting to be served, but women have shown interest, and it's about time that we
You give us statistics of the women population in Zambia, around
Right.
61%.
Right.
If this population speaks to the true reality of what's on the ground, then why don't we see women support their fellow women? Because if 61% of the population are women, and you women are participating in elections, we expect that we'll have more women actually in parliament. Why isn't this a reflective of what's happening in our National Assembly?
We have seen those that have come through. they have been voted in by women. Women are supporting. I think it's still a stereotype. I think women don't support women, but this time around we're seeing that we're cheering on each other. And only 2026 we'll see, not too long ago, we have seen Madame Dolika coming through, right? I have seen a lot of women that are supporting her, corporate women that are supporting her. So I think it's just about time and, just daring. Do I really want to be compromised? How will I be able to survive this? So I don't think women are shunning away from supporting one another. I think we have really outgrown into that where you're still frowning on yourself unless you haven't discovered yourself. Really.
But what we get to notice, and statistics even from the Electoral Commission of Zambia show that in the last couple of elections, we've seen that the majority of registered voters are actually female. And from the statistic, like Andrew is saying, one would think that this should be a statistic in favor of female candidates, but it doesn't turn out to be.
I'll be interested to see whether we're getting a front-runner woman that is getting in 2026. Let's see how it's going to work, because we can tell that women already are speaking to say maybe it's about time. And it's about time, not because we are female, but for a credible leader, why not? Because we have tried men, and maybe this is a time for women as well. So I do argue that there are women supporting women currently, except that we haven't seen ourselves. We had Madam Chishala Kateka in 2026. She was there.
2021.
2021, thank you. So we have seen that, and she was a newcomer then, and we have seen Madam Nawakwi. When we go round to ask, you get to hear that she was supported very strongly by women as well. So just that it did not reflect, but she did fantastic.
How do you think you're performing as women? You've been given key strategic positions in government. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Madam Nelly Mutu, is a woman. The first Chief Justice woman is in this administration, Madam Princess Kasune. The Chief Justice...
you mean Minister of Justice?
Yes, the Minister of Justice is a woman. The Chief Justice, is a woman.
The Chief Justice isn't a woman.
The Minister of Justice is a woman. The Speaker of the National Assembly is a woman. The Vice President, is a woman. What do you make of their performance in terms of public service? And do you think these, are giving us a benchmark of how you women could perform when given high platforms?
Very qualitative question, but I would say they have done extraordinary in their works. I wouldn't sit there and rate them one by one, but I don't think they have really suffered much backlash in what they're doing. They are making the decisions, by the highest office. So in their own capacities, I think it reflects, it feels very good to see, not just good, but it reflects very well that they are role models. Whether they are performing, that is a question for another day, but I believe it is a progress in the right direction that we've got them. Whether I should sit and rage them now? No, I don't think so.
But do you also feel that sometimes the performance of the women who've been put in these strategic positions, and I'll ask this question in two folds. First of all, do you ever feel that some of these decisions are cosmetic to make certain either political parties, certain leaders look to be in support of women and embracing women in these positions?
So, if I were to be honest with you, I would say you put me in the hot seat and question me about the women leadership, performance leadership for these key positions. We've not talked about the men, right? So if we're going to talk about leadership, let us talk about leadership performance for everybody in leadership and not just the women. So the women, let us argue, the women need the space, just like the men, but the representation, we need to do more. Right? But when it comes to performance, we need credible leaders. So not just the women, and when it comes to performance, we must have credible leaders representing Zambia. I think that should be put record straight.
So, because you speak of policies that are needed within political parties, and I know that this conversation has been pushed further at national level. If we talk about Bill number 7, where one of the proposals was for inclusivity, looking at persons with disabilities, the youth, and the women. It's been one of the proposals made there. But in the absence of these particular laws, and we hear this argument sometimes where some people make the assertion that certain women are put in these positions, certain people are put in these positions to make, for example, a government of a particular day look a certain way, or certain political parties, even from the opposition, to look like they're having that gender balance.
Right.
What's your comment on these particular statements?
That is very unfortunate, that if we're going to put inclusivity for facade, from statistics and research around the world, we have seen that health, education, there are key areas that women have pushed when they have been put in key positions. I live in a country that is governed by most women. And it shouldn't be a facade. And if that is the case, then it's completely wrong of us to do. Because this is not about how to look, how to appear. We have an argument that here is a population and we are in a democracy. And that is the reason why, that is a benchmark of why we should do that. And those are key areas that I'm just highlighting. Health, education, those are very key for women. We are, nurtures by birth, right? We take care of families. So there are those key areas. Not that men don't perform very well, but we have even seen that global funding has been pushed where we see that women are in those key areas. So why don't we use that argument that is going to benefit us than that limit us to look at the facade? The facade is not going to serve us.
You've actually responded to another question. You've partially responded to another question I was about to ask you. As somebody who has traveled and through observations in Europe, for example,
right?
How much of the issue of gender is a conversation? And the reason why I ask this is because we once talked about this with the Economic Front President, Mr. Winter Kavimba, and his argument is that it's interesting how for us in these developing countries, there's a lot that we talk about in terms of the youth representation, issues around gender, when we talk about our politics. And he made reference to, for example, the just ended election in the United States that saw President Donald Trump being elected. And he made reference to that, saying, if we look at the debates that were going on, how much of that conversation spoke towards gender or age, especially from the younger generation. What have been your observations in that regard when you talk about issues of gender, age, when you talk about democracies out there?
So I think it's very important to look at political ideologies. What does political ideologies talk about? What is their focus? Is it about inclusion? I live in the Nordics. Nordics, they are practicing social democracy. And social democracy is very heavy on inclusivity. Inclusivity for women, inclusivity for young, everybody is included. So it would be very, very contradictory if they did not practice what is in the paper. So you find that it's not even a question. In my organization, when you look, we are about 800 employees, and we've got directors, majority, I think they are just women. So I think we must understand where we're coming from if we were to compare with other countries that have taken off a long time ago. How much, when it comes to our households here in Africa, how much do we allow young people to even speak when elders are seated, right? So we are not just going to get up and give room to young people. Until today, in my dad's house, in my mother's house, I have to let my mother and my dad speak. That is very normal in our African setup. So I think when we're trying to understand and just trying to close the gap, let us try to understand where we're coming from. Their culture, how it is working in Europe, is completely different. A child in Europe is taught, my 10-year-old child at school, they are told about their rights. Nobody stops them to speak. Whereas here, it would be something else. You would be reported for child abuse if you stop them. So their leadership starts and they are rooting for them all the time. So it's very, very normal. And you get them to see by the time they are at the age of 12, those that would like to get into politics, their parents, they already in politics, so they already start practicing leadership as low as 12, 13 years old. And then let's look at Africa. How many younger politicians do we see? Not until they get to uni, to college. That is when we start getting that responsibility to say, I can actually be a leader. So how much do we support? How much policies do we support? Even in villages, traditional, setups. How much do younger people are given this authority mandate to express themselves, to prove themselves, to see them rise, to say they are job on training?
There's about 7 months to go before Parliament gets to be dissolved.
Right.
And about 9 months before we get into the election. What would be your appeal to, even as we open the phone lines, what would be your appeal to political parties in terms of what they should deliberately and intentionally put in place that would provide for an enabling environment for more women to come and participate, in the intra-party elections?
We can start with civil society. So civil society must close up, maybe work hand in hand with ECZ, where they put up policy that supports, maybe support financially, and maybe give an incentive to political parties that actually practicing how many female candidates. So we need training. Like I've put it, it's very important that leadership is also guided. So how much do these political parties have financially resources that can support those in those trainings? So civil society comes in to train, but political parties as well, they must be expected to put up something in paper, in writing, that they are going to be supporting female candidates. Let them make it attractive, and then let them listen to what has been their grievances, what is out there. Can they address those? Can they look into those? What is the punishment, the penalty for those that are, abusing, discriminating, harassing women? What are the consequences for such party members? I think that way we'll be responding. And the women as well, once they see that political parties are responding to their concerns, I don't think it will be a question of 2026 we're saying we had very few. I saw that you highlighted Kalilushe. That was very exemplary, that we get to see that. So we can learn from that and just respond to what has been the negative first, that has been pushing political parties not adopting women.
Let's pick some callers from across the country. Our first call actually is the UPND Nationals Chairman, Mr. Gilbert Liswani. So it's good that you've joined us. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've become now one of the callers now. Good evening, the guest there, the activist.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, women and the youth are the same in the same category. We are the majority, and women, you are the majority voters. When I say women to the youth, women in that line, what you are saying, I may agree and sympathize with you, but politics itself of saving the people, it's something which comes within our community with a heart to save the people. Either you're a youth, you're a woman, or you are an elderly person, a man. This is a calling within our communities. My dear sister, I will tell you that in the communities where we found women who is influential in a certain area, is the one who influences everyone. Sometimes we need the same woman that, can you stand on this ticket? That woman will decline to say, I can't stand this. But she has influential. So all we need is just to encourage and emphasize at every to say that participate. But giving a position on a silver platter, either a youth, a woman, it will never come. Challenge that this is an African country, and also have touched it. Our culture also. You cannot compare too much with it. Our culture also itself, it has contributed to less women to participate in these positions, because for them, a man should lead. Okay? So these things is a serious matter. Human rights, democracy, and our people saying should not destroy what we have. But how do we encourage women to participate now into more politics? Insult will be there because it's politics. They'll put you in the corner. The way you look there will put you something which is not there. Okay? Somebody has nothing to offer, but they will tell you something which is not there. So these are the things which we are facing on the ground, because that's the politics we understand. But the good part of it, as I conclude, is that because of bad education where they've been, now there's a free education. This groping which we are having of young ones because they are going to school now, we're expecting 10, 20 years from now that a lot of now women will be in politics.
Do you have deliberate policies
So
within your
it will be
party?
there. So the last
Mr.
one, but just a bit, Andrew, I'm concluding. You talked about the football itself. I could see how all of us want, but I want to be honest with you, especially you're a wrong person to comment about football. You Andrew Mwansa, like Simon Mulenga, Mavuto Piri, Stephen Liuto, and Chiwenga. You vote against your own team, your own government, your own Zambia. So you are wrong people to discuss about football. Let's chase one. The other people talk about food, not you. You bet against your own Zambia and you make money. Tomorrow you are paying school fees, all of you, because you have won. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Well, thank you so much, UPND National Chairman Gilbert Sosono is a soccer fan, and he speaks strongly when Zambia loses, but he accuses us of...
He accused you. I don't know why you want to put the rest of us in that
my prediction was that Zambia is not going to win the football.
So he's right that you betted against your own country. But getting back to our conversation, Mr. Lusunusu raises quite a number of issues. But one of them that he raises was the issue of insults and so on, which has been quite synonymous with the type of politics that happens in this country. And he asked the question of what can be done to encourage more women to participate amidst those particular circumstances that even the men have to face, whether it's the insults, mudslinging, violence, if it has to get to that, unfortunately. How do we encourage women to still participate in those circumstances?
I must say, Mr. Leswaniso, that it's rather old that you use the word, it will never. First, he says women must not expect that we'll just give them when some have been offered. And he uses the word never. Never doesn't give us a room for compromise there. And when it comes to the insults, I think accepting something that is negative, that is already very wrong for us people, because we can actually adjust. And we must never rejoice, because it's not looking good for us when we have to continue that way. I mean, we must pause. I just hope that he had responded to your question, whether they have any policy put in place on how they can respond. But to accept, yes, there will be some sort of violence, but then there should be a policy that is going to tame it. We must not agree, because that is not how politics must be. Instead, I would challenge Mr. Leswaniso and many other politicians to say maybe it's about time that we actually educated our sympathizers and our supporters. How much do they understand of our ideologies? How much do they understand of our politics? Why then choose the insults? Why then choose the harassing? Is that politics? How much does it add value to us? I mean, it's a concern when we are getting into an election. It's a concern when we're having a by-election. Not too long ago, the president was very grateful that there was no bloodshed. I mean, it should never be a bloodshed, right? That is a concern. By-election is not equal to violence. We can go to an election without violence.
He also said something very important, that sometimes the UPND would go into an area, they find that the person popular there and influential there is a woman. But when that woman is approached to, contest for a seat,
right,
they'll decline, saying that I don't engage in politics. And so how then do we go about this to see really an improvement in the number of women that...
The availability.
Yes, so
availability is another issue.
Yeah, so availability. So early on, I think we spoke about those that are already in the game, right? And now he's talking about somebody who is an outlier and somebody who they see, I'm sure Mr. Leswaniso was looking at, somebody who they see potential, who can perform very, very well, but then they will decline. We must respect that. Not everybody wants to get into politics. yes, you show very good leadership qualities, but no, thank you, I decline. I can be on the side, I can mentor somebody, maybe, but what we must be doing now is to find ways. There's been a complaint, there's been concerns. How are we responding to those concerns to attract more people to come through? So one thing is they're already in the game, not being pushed to leadership roles, and then there's another question of how do we get it attractive? Getting it attractive is by responding. That is how we move forward. We respond to those negativities.
So the template of rules of engagement is very clear.
Right.
That when you're popular, that's when the party can adopt you. If you're not popular, the party can't adopt you. And this is not only known by the men, it's also known by the women.
Right.
Why aren't you women working hard so that you're identified and adopted, within these political parties? Because the template is very clear that you're only going to be adopted if you're popular.
I would challenge the traditional leaders as well, the church leaders as well. We must get recommendations. In most cases, sometimes even talent, we have seen people that have been recommended and they have been headhunted. So we must accept that this life, the world that we live in, majority of us have been pushed a little bit by being, somebody has discovered us, somebody knows much about us, and then maybe they ask to say, if you approach her or if I talk to her, wait, maybe if I talk to them, they would be interested in it. So we must have that support as well, especially if the environment has been a little bit delicate. I think that is the step in the right direction.
When you spoke about the type of politics that takes place in this country, I mean, you spoke about the ideal situation. And to be honest, that's what a number of people would love to see. That's the ideal situation. But the realistic picture right now is that that's not what it is.
Right.
So what would your message be to women who have interest in leadership, whether it's through their local communities, in terms of politics, or even at national level, considering the current circumstances? Would you still encourage them to
Absolutely.
participate?
I can look in the camera and just say, Banamayo, this is your time. I'm in the hot seat and I'm talking on your behalf. This is an opportunity for us. Let's get out there, and let's not go out there because we are women, but let's challenge it to say we are credible and we are ready for leadership and that we can lead. We know it, we understand it, and we need the support of our men, not because we are weak, but together we are stronger.
There's 3 questions from Pele Jackson on Facebook.
Right.
He says, number 1, is there any political party in Zambia that has clauses that forbid women from participating? Number 2, if you're looking for clauses to invite you before you are relevant, then you may have nothing to offer. Number 3, what clauses invited women like Mama Chikamoneka to participate in political independence? I think these are very valid questions. That there are no clauses that stop you as women from participating in there are no clauses and these political parties are open to everyone.
Yes.
Women, youth, the old, everyone. It's a democracy. So what must we do really for you women to
Definitely, we have talked about, that is why there's even this bill that is coming up. But already, I would also say on the bill, on the Constitution, there's already an existing article that, supports women and inclusivity of persons with disabilities and the youths and women already. So it does exist. But the concerns are those that we must respond to. So there's nothing that prohibits us other than that it has been a rough field. But I also believe that we are making strides, because when you look how far back we have come, it's not many women. Maybe those days we used to see our mothers, but this time around we are even seeing youths that are stepping up. So what is important is political parties must allow it, must support. But then there comes a question of finances. Majority young people, I'm engaging a lot of young people. You hear them, I'm interested, but then constraints is finances. They talk about finances. The men out there, they are able to source for funds, but then the women are a little bit disadvantaged. So that also must be addressed. And these are some of the issues that must be addressed by the ECZ, by the policy. How can we make it very fair, fair game that everybody can find it easy to participate? that they are not pushed out, they are disadvantaged because they don't have that bargaining power. So I don't think it's just not daring. It has not been very conducive, but I would gladly say that we are stepping up, and it's not scary. It's not something that women are not considering.
How would you also rate the general inclusion of women beyond politics? Because, I mean, that's another thing that also comes up when we talk about women participation. We see successive governments, especially this government, mention it, that they've been quite strategic in terms of the inclusion of women and young people generally, that it's not just in the National Assembly and so on, but in different positions in government. And we spoke about some of the examples.
They mentioned that they've appointed many in these diplomatic missions, and they say the majority actually are women that are serving our country in foreign service.
It is exemplary, but you see, what is also the gap that is there? Look at Rwanda, look at Namibia. They have actually some quotas that have been supporting the women. So much as we have sent into diplomatic service, we can't really see that we want to see. I think what they would like is the Kansunes. They are all out there. We can read, yes, I believe that we have sent out in, diplomatic services that people are working out there. It is important, but they are civil servants. What we're talking about is leadership, where we influence, where we are an example, where we are an icon, somebody is looking up to. Nelly Muti, if we go out in a secondary school, we'll find ladies, young girls that, they would idolize you. We talk about Dora Silia, we talk about Mezinga Melu, name them. There are a lot of them, the vice president, they are mobbed because they are there to speak, they represent. And it's very important when we look at that picture, when they stand addressing that stage, that is where power comes in. So it's not just about a job given, but it's also about what are they representing? What picture are we seeing? Do we see power? Do we see, strong? That is what we want to see.
Talking about picture, what picture are you seeing as we head into 2026? Do you see more women participating and stepping up
Absolutely.
For the elections?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's about time. Majority of them feel that they are ready now. And I think it's about time that we tried also female leadership. So,
Do you see Zambia having a female president soon?
yes,
How soon?
very soon.
Like 2026 soon?
Possibility.
Are you participating for political office?
No.
Well,
We have to end it there.
we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very
Charlotte
much.
Naes, thank you so much for making time. Charlotte Naes is a governance activist, but also founder of the Mzenga Lives Foundation, a foundation that is doing quite a number of things for, underprivileged Zambians right here in our country. Early on, we're speaking about football, and I'm seeing a number of comments here around football, and people are saying, Chimweka, that Keith Mwemba must deliver and not just speak to the boys, which I totally agree. But thank you so much for calling. I was about to mention that I'm about to pick a lawyer so that I sue the UPND National Youth Chairman Gilbert for defaming me in public media. But thank you so much.
Perhaps you can visit Keith Member Chambers and if you need.
Oh, hi, Keith Mwemba. We have to leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. See you again Wednesday for another exclusive edition of Diamond Live. My name is Andrew. Once on behalf of Chair Soccer Pasa, thank you so much for watching.
My name is Jubwenga Chilashe. Good night.